I'm Chris Small, and I'm here with Johnathan Miller at 1508 Park Avenue, and we now have the house under contract, and we were coming down to talk about what we did to get the house ready and how we made it unfold.
So what do you think some of our biggest challenges are when we're getting a house ready? I think we've seen the best return in a lot of ways, but I'm just curious.
Well, I think a lot of the biggest challenge for us is having a client agree to let us run forward because of what we know and how we see it work. Frequently, a client doesn't see that as often, and so when we say, this is what we think will help you, it's their connection with that is so distanced. And some people get it and they're on it and they're like, oh yeah, we need to do that. And some people are like, I'm not going to spend any money to do this. And this is a perfect example because they did listen. They wanted so badly for us to tell them what they wanted to hear. And the question finally came out, how much difference will it make to us? And I was able to say, probably about $100 grand. And at that point, they became more open-minded about what they were going to do or what they were willing to do. And they let us run with it. And it worked out really, really well.
I was joking, I'm like, if you just get out of our way, we can make you money. That's what we're here to do in the first place, is we're here to make you money. We're not here to necessarily spend your money. We're not going to suggest anything that you upgrade that isn't actually going to have an ROI.
A concrete return on it.
And so with that, we have some houses that we go in sometimes and people are like, oh no, you're going to use our stuff, and then we'll go with what they want, and then a few months later we'll go back and we'll do it the way we originally suggested. And at that point they probably lost, I would say, about $20,000 or $30,000 because we've lost those buyers that would have paid more.
What you lose is when a property is a new offering, it gets the strongest interest. And if you come back and you rework it a month later, people are like, oh yeah, we saw that. So you lose the impact of doing it right, getting it out in front of people when it's fresh meat, so to speak, and it gets the best reception. And if you sort of tiptoe into the water, perfect example, do you tiptoe in the water or do you dive in the pool? Diving in the pool is, let's get it all done, let's do it right, let's do the video, let's do the staging, let's make it a great offering so when it hits the market, you have absolutely the maximum amount of interest that you can have in a property. If the property gets out there, and it's out there for a month, or even a week, the reception, if you go back and you change anything, the people that need to see it don't get to see it.
And I think this client was a perfect example. Once we got her to open up, she was really open about what she didn't like about the staging when she bought it, and the things that would have had her spend more money. And so those were all things that I put in my staging plan because she bought it last time, so I wanted to make sure.
I know, but that's also something else. It's like she bought it like 6 years ago,
right? And
staging was completely different then. The real estate market was completely different then, and people think of real estate as this static thing. Although maybe with what's going on in the market today, people will get away from that idea that we do it the same way we've always done it. And unfortunately, so many agents approach real estate that way too. It's like the stock market, and it's different every day. And right now, particularly in the urban Richmond market, and when I say urban Richmond, I mean basically everything in the city limits, there's so little inventory. And why would you miss your opportunity to turn up the heat and get the maximum the market will bear? Whereas if you sort of have a lukewarm approach to it, and it sits on the market for a little while, and then you miss that opportunity. But there's so many people that are looking for new listings, and if you show them a new listing when it's new and it's the first time we've ever seen it and it is 100% and it looks great, that's when there's the most interest.
One of my favorite things about working with you is that you are determined on every listing that you are going to max out that fiduciary responsibility to the client.
That's what we try.
And that to me is one of the most important things when I started working in real estate was that, you know, if you're going to do this job, people are turning over their biggest investment to you. So why wouldn't you want to make more money? So I see some properties that go out sometimes and I just look at it and I shake my head. I'm like, that could have just used a little paint here, could have used a new light fixture there. And how do you deal with that whenever you have a client who is just extremely adamant? Now, I know how you deal with it because 9 times out of 10, you end up bringing them around. But how would you advise agents out there who are scared of that? They're scared of losing a listing, but you're signing a contract saying you're going to make this client the most money.
Well, a lot of my industry doesn't really understand, and your responsibility to your client changes from client to client. Some people are like, you know, we're not going to do that, but we want it sold. And it's like, okay, I can work with that, and I can sit there and I can go, well, we can maximize your return if you just let us off the leash, and you know, we'll tighten some things up. We could make you more money. But a lot of times they don't even want to hear that. They just want to make it happen. And it depends on the situation with the sale. But most people's sales, a house like this, you know, a nice quality single family house, most people want to make as much money as they can make. And you know, it's very rare that you get a client that goes, oh, I don't care about what we, you know, make it money. It's like, real estate's a big investment. You know, being able to take off your personal ownership hat and go, this is an investment, what's the smartest thing I can do so that I maximize my return? And it's like, there is a much clearer picture today than ever before about where you can go with that. And it's like you give people that are getting ready to write a check what they want to see, so that they write the biggest check. And, you know, but other times people are like, okay, we're not going to do that. We're not going to move out. We're not, you know, and sometimes and sometimes people's houses look great. And if they go through and edit a little bit, that's all you need. Most people don't live like that.
It's the depersonalizing part that sometimes people, I think, have the hardest time with, is taking away a certain piece of art that's a statement piece. That's what someone's going to come over and have a conversation about. But when we're selling a house, we want them to come over and have a conversation about the kitchen, the moldings, the fireplace, not whatever it is you have hanging over the fireplace. I don't want them to remember my decor in the house. I want them to remember the fixed assets that they're buying. I think that a lot of times we're creating a lifestyle that's attainable for people to actually move in and live in.
Well, and actually you just hit on something that would be really helpful to explain to people. You're not doing design, you're doing retail staging so that the product looks like what people want.
Okay.
And versus, and
I've got a horse going. So when we're going into a house, we're not doing interior design at that point. We're actually turning that home into a product. We're merchandising it the same way if you were going into a Macy's or a Bergdorf's and seeing a display. It's no longer a place that someone is actually living. We're creating a lifestyle for them to actually want to live in at that point. It's not so much about that I'm going to use the right piece of art or I'm going to use the right mirror. I want them to be able to visualize themselves living in it. Because again, I'm merchandising a space. I'm not actually doing a personalized design.
I think that's where I heard you on that little TV spot where you said it's a hot mess. And it is, and it's a lot of people don't understand it. And I've seen what he's been doing, and I've seen him do it over and over and over again. And it's not decorating. It's not making it a personal space that may be appealing. It's broadening the market so that people walk in and go, yeah, I can live here. Because if I live here, it's not cluttered, it's clean, it feels comfortable. But then they'll hire somebody to come in and design, and Johnathan can do that too. But they talk him into.
I want him to feel inspired. I want him to feel inspired. I want him to walk in. I have agents sometimes they're like, well, but you didn't do anything over here. And like, I'll usually pick the area that I know someone is going to have a piece for. And that's the area I'll leave blank. That's where I'll save the client money because I know someone's going to come in and they're going to say, we can put grandma's china cabinet over there, or we've got a Picasso we can hang over the mantle. I want them to just look at the size of a mirror and say, okay, my piece of art will fit there. I want them to start visualizing themselves already living in the home. It's an old real estate trick where when we walk through and people are saying, oh, this is your new home, this is your new home. I want them to start mentally thinking about it while they're in the house.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. And it's been working really well.
You know, and it's with one of the trends being that thanks to a pandemic, dining rooms going away. One of the things we saw that has worked so well is creating a secondary family room in some of the older dining rooms where that's the largest room in some of our houses. And it makes the most logical sense because, you know, that's where people are wanting to get away to. They want to
Well, and it also maximizes the square footage because I would say the majority of people looking at older houses probably aren't having 12 people to dinner a couple of times a month. They might have family meals at a holiday. But if you take that banquet dining room and you turn it into a living area in a house that has kind of tight family living space, it makes the house feel larger, it makes the house function better in today's environment. And it's just one way that, you know, staging can help make a house feel like this is the right place.
So Chris, I want to keep this going, so can we come back and talk a little more later?
Sure.
Well, I guess that wraps us up completely of our segment. I guess we're going to have to
We'll have to
come back later.
have segment 2, but that's a good idea. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.